Hey, ladies, welcome to today's live conversation with one of our speakers from the Women Thrive Summit 2026. Today, I am interviewing the lovely Leisha Antica. Hi, Leisha, how are you?
Hello, I am fantastic, Ray. I'm wonderful. Thanks to you all for letting me be here and Happy New Year, Chinese New Year, Fire Horse here. We're firing
Yeah.
away.
And I see you definitely bring your big energy with your big hair today.
It went wild. I don't know. I woke up this way. I was like, huh.
Well, today we're talking about from survivor to sovereign, how soul psychology empowers women to build their empires. And this is a talk at the Women Thrive Summit that Alicia is going to be sharing with all of our audience. But before we kind of kick in to explore the subject a little bit more, I would love to invite Alicia to actually introduce herself to our audience today.
Thank you. So, everybody, hello. Thank you so much for listening, for being here, and being a part of this amazing summit. We have so many amazing teachers and speakers. And so, my name is Dr. Lisha Antica, and I have my PhD in transpersonal psychology. I have number one best-selling books. I have been deemed America's premier expert in trauma recovery in 2012. So it was a while ago, but hey, it still stands. I've done a lot of work and leading into studies and research from there. I love helping people reclaim their lives. Like that's share their truths, reclaim their lives, and really thrive. And the hundreds of women, maybe even thousands of women that I've gotten to work with over my 20-year career, and to help them embody their truth and speak their truth and share their truth, right? When it wasn't that popular, right? Now we are going through a shift in this world. And I don't know if you can feel it, but we are. Um, the files are being talked about, the whistleblowers are coming out, right? The everything is being exposed. And even on our beautiful panel, like there's so many survivors saying, hey, this happened to me and this is what I'm doing with it. And after working with so many clients, that is what I found they wanted to do. So first was yoga teacher training and somatic work, and then it was coaching people on how to put together their talks and books, and then it turned into a coaching certification program in 2018. And it's like this ripple effect of giving ourselves permission to share our truths, live in our truths, and embody ourselves rather than like being subject to. So I've been studying soul psychology. It is a trademark now because it's been my life purpose, really. I thought it was to recover from abuse or heal from sexual abuse or all of that stuff. I really thought it was for a long time. But really, when it came down to it, it's like, no, like, how does our soul
Mm,
transition through our bodies, and what makes our bodies, and what makes us conscious, and how do we share our life experiences and get a soul calling and feel this fulfillment, and why do we go through the things that we go through? And so I've been researching and studying and working with hundreds of people around that topic. And now I help people put themselves back together so they can live their truth.
yeah. Having been in this work that we do at Women Thrive, creating a safe space for women to come together and have these conversations and trauma and, um, life experiences that led them to trauma is never easy. It's never an easy subject, and the work kind of goes in layers. And when you do this work with women, do you find that there is like a trigger point that happens, or do women come into doing this work more consciously and they know, or do you find that they're really on the edge of it and they're looking for that support and help?
What I found, thank you so much. I love this question. This is like right up my alley. What I found with working with people is there is a journey. And actually, there's been a lot of
Mm,
studies done specifically on childhood abuse and childhood sexual abuse and kind of what happens to our lives. And for those who are brave enough to say, yes, this happened, right? And I'll tell you, like, really,
mm,
before the last 5 years, you didn't really, you couldn't talk about it, right? And it was this hush hush thing. And it wasn't even recognized until the 90s. I don't know if a lot of people understand that, but it wasn't even recognized in psychology until the 90s. You didn't like, they just said, just don't talk about it. And so once we get through that, there's really this space where people go, oh, that's like a not healthy reaction, or that's a not healthy something
Mm.
that happened to me. We all go through that awakening, right? Oh, that I don't think that's healthy, whether it was from a parent or a boyfriend or girlfriend or something happened, right? If the trauma happens and it's a relationship trauma, there's like, ah, something happened. And then you realize, I don't like that, but how did I play a part in it, right? And they start going and doing therapy, or going to somatic workshops, or going to retreats, or hiring a coach, or reading self-help books, like devouring it, like what is healthy. And a lot of people stay there. And this is where I see a lot of people really get addicted to healing, and they get trapped in this space. And so the study says, in order to get out of this space, to get out of the abuse, they have to recognize it's abuse. To get out of the healing, right, they need a bigger problem than themselves. Because what our brains love to do, what our egos love to do, is solve problems, right? So some people go, oh, I want to solve a problem and help people buy real estate. Other people say, I want to solve a problem and help the hungry, right? I want to solve a problem and work in tech, right? And create AI or create something. I want to solve a problem and sell cars to people that want kick-ass cars. It
Mm.
doesn't matter like what your problem is. It doesn't have to be solving abuse or soul psychology, or your empire can be wherever you want your empire to be, but it's answering that calling. That is what actually gets them out of healing and dealing. And then the next phase is where you think you're living, right? You think you're living, and you're coping. So this is where the coping skills come out, right? You can't deny this. Like today in our world, like this era of silence is lifting. This era of silence, of all the darkness, is lifting. The truth tellers are rising, right? And that really matters, because every time somebody speaks their truth, no matter what their truth is, when it's uncomfortable, when it is a lockdown, it tells somebody else, "Ah, you can share your truth too. You can live in your truth too." And the more that people do this in this lived platform, they're not healing anymore.
Mm.
They don't circle back as much. Doesn't mean that things that we need to heal from don't happen, right? We get illnesses, we get stuff like life happens, we get surprises, right? But you know how to cope with them a little bit better. And as long as you don't identify with them, right? And we're going to talk a lot about identity when we get to my class, my class. I love teaching. That's going to be a class, guys. It's a talk and a class. But we're, so much into that. You recognize that loop. And yeah, you might be comfortable in the healing phase. Oh, I have to heal from this. I'm going to go process that. I got to go to this retreat. Oh, that something's wrong with me, right? And the world really goes, "Oh, just take one more pill and watch this and look at what's wrong with you." Because if we were all powerful, we all know, not talking politics, not scandal, not power, but I think the world is waking up to this truth that there's a lot of propaganda out there keeping us in I'm sick, I'm broken, I'm wrong. There's a deeper pattern, and it's throughout history, right? So we get to this place, we pick a big problem, and then this is the part that I want to shift for everybody. This is the part where at this big problem, there's studies done that says something catastrophic has to happen again. And unfortunately for me, I hit that. I was on the cover of magazines. I was speaking all over the world. I was doing so much in 2020, 2015. And then I had my original abuse happen again, and very not similar, but similar situation. And in a matter of an evening,
Wow.
everything shifted. Now, it put me back into school. I got my PhD, deeper into study. I went back into healing, right? I affirmed the methodologies that I teach right now. And I went back to working with women rather than speaking yet to the place I'm at now, right? Like it took me 7 years to do this. But in the studies, what I realized or what's written, people studying people healing, is that catastrophic event has to happen for the person to reclaim their soul or their consciousness and say, screw whatever happened to me in the past, screw all these healing methodologies, screw the big problem. What am I passionate about? What matters to me? And how do I live forward and embrace?
Mm.
Now, they either die, excuse my D word, they either pass or they embrace life. So we're embracing life. We're embracing
Yeah.
it. And I see that happening in this world. So I think that for the world, like COVID was our big, like everybody trauma, right? And now we're coming out of that and we're like, forget it, right? Before it was safe, before it was believed, before it was profitable, truth tellers were telling the truth, except now we're listening.
Mm. Yeah.
They're like, we're ready. Now they're being heard. And I think that my call is to call all of these people up that have been practicing telling their truth so they don't go back to stage one of being victimized or stage two of learning how to cope and deal and process that, or stage three of even like what's the problem and how can I help,
Yeah. Yeah. Because
being their truth.
I think, having when you live with trauma and haven't been through some of these things, there are triggers and that comes back. And there are, incidents maybe that will happen that take you right back, as you said. But, it's just figuring out how you can cope with it and how you can overcome it. So, because I know trauma has a way of silencing you. All right. Wanting to hide, not wanting to tell the truth because it's painful. It's hard. It's not something that, you go out there in the wide world and you talk about. And we're seeing in today's world, in the Epstein files, let's say so many survivors decided not to come forward and, be unidentified because it's not an easy thing to be exposed and relive some of those traumas that people have lived through. And honestly, for me, I'm s- it's so sad to witness that so many people have gone through these things and have lived in silence. And that's why for me it's so important that we create a safe space and we encourage women to come forward and have those conversations because we help empower other people. Without you speaking up, let's Alicia, you being here, you sharing your message with the world, other people won't be as brave to come forward and start speaking their truth. And this is where healing really begins. At least for me, that's where it began when I started to speak my truth. I felt empowered. I felt like now I could lift off like million pounds off my back and say, I'm not carrying it, right? You don't have to carry that load on your own.
No, no. There's a space where it is identity. When it
Mhm.
really boils down to like, what did I end up studying? I wrote, methodologies to bring back a person to their identity, methodologies to bring back a person their sexuality or give it to them for the first time. Because my dissertation focus was on healing from CSA, and I've listened to thousands of women's stories and a few men's too, and it's this internalization of whatever happened to us as our identity as a deservedness. That is such a lie. That is such a lie. And do we get to battle that lie? Yeah, a little bit, right? But the questions that you can really ask yourself today if you're listening and this is like, oh, yeah, like I want to speak out. I want to be a part of the solution, no longer just regurgitating the pain, and really speak out and stand up for whatever. One, when we tell our truth,
Mhm.
things get lighter, as you said, right? Things get lighter eventually. But really you can ask yourself, like, who is saying this? Is your inner child saying it? Is somebody from the outside saying it? Right? Who's saying what you want to say? Who are you speaking up for? I have a client that is going through some stuff, and she's like, I just feel like I have to tell this story in the courts, right? I just have to say what happened to me, and she hasn't done that. And I was like, who are you saying it for? Right? Because if she's saying it for her inner child, which she is, but just saying it for her inner child, saying it for justice finally, saying it for her truth to be out, not for the courts,
Yeah.
right, to agree, not for everything to go her way, not for manipulation, not for proving, but really to say, you know what, this is my truth. This is where I stand, right? And if I get it wrong, it's okay.
Yeah.
No getting it wrong, right? You're just sharing your truth. And what if people don't believe me? Can
Mm.
me? Can I believe me? That's that inner truth. And what if it costs me something? What if it costs you your misery? What if it costs you not earning, right? I found out, I did research for all my talks, really. I was doing research, like what's tangible that these programs give back to people. And I found out that $750,000 people spend on healing, whether it's retreat, ayahuasca, spiritual training, all of their therapies, all of the self-help books. I mean, we added it all up, right? I pulled from stats all over the place. And that's a lot of money over a lifetime. And then I know from my dissertation studies, it costs a CSA survivor, an SA survivor, $1 million over the course of their lifetime in lost wages
Yeah.
just from
Wow.
dealing with PTSD. So that gives you back $1,750,000. That is a child and a half if you have normal children, right?
Mm.
Like, and
That's
you're
insane.
raising your kids, right? That's an entire life back. And so knowing that, it's like, what if it cost me something not to say something? What if it cost
Mm.
me not to step in my empire?
So let's talk a little bit more about, you talked about especially women coming out and starting to talk about it. And it's not an easy thing. So currently in the news, I'm sure you heard of Giselle Pelicot, the French lady who's been raped multiple times by her husband and other people he solicited online. And her newest book talks about shame must change sides. And it really is the notion of, the survivors not having to live with that burden of shame on them. It's actually switching sides and shame being put on the perpetrators.
Mm.
What are your thoughts on this?
It's mandatory shame and responsibility. For so many survivors of abuse, we are groomed. We're groomed into the responsibility, and we're taught to be responsible. Then put on top of that just normal, like, be a good girl, be a
Mm.
people pleaser, take care of everybody, you know, and all of that stuff that's just normalized in our world. We look at shame and it internalizes. It is a very low frequency. So in my courses, I have amazing emotions, and in amazing emotions, we go through all of the feelings. And shame is one of the base feelings. It's like the frequency of 25. It's like mud. It's like mud. It's hard to move through. So when
Mm.
you take on somebody else's shame, which is an unwilling to speak, unwilling to tell your truth, unwilling. It creates an unsafe environment for your truth, your essence, your soul, your consciousness to come home into your body physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. And and bring out into the world its truth. You're holding somebody else's truth. You're holding the truth of your abuser. And it is something that I've walked through with every single one of my clients. Every single one of my clients, it's a shift. Um, they put the blame on us. The courts put the blame on us, right? What's happening with the survivors of the Epstein files and everything that's happening, it's happening to them, right?
Mm.
The fear is put on us. Brene Brown speaks so much on shame and how we can do this. So absolutely, we need to put responsibility where responsibility is, and that really starts, unfortunately, once again with survivors.
Yeah. Yeah. Lisha, I think this is really, really important subject. As timely as ever, as important as ever it has ever been. We've had many, many women bring this conversation of healing into our space. And, for Women Thrive, yes, it is partially a business event, or started off as business event, but it goes so much deeper than that. And healing has always been a big part of the conversation, because it's almost like that fundamental pillar that you have to address and work through before you can attain any success or freedom to just even be yourself. Because again, trauma really locks you into this time capsule, and it manifests itself, as you said, in people pleasing and that good girl syndrome, and not being able to move forward or charge your worth or see your worth, or so many ways that it manifests in. It's really fundamental conversation to any space that can provide a safe space for women to have this conversation.
Yeah. Well, it's so much easier to try to be liked than to be truthful,
Mm.
right? And when you're here to make a change in the world, which I believe so many of us are, we're brilliant. We we have insight, we have this life experience we're pulling from, right? It's about how can we tell our truth, no longer be silenced, and also not get stuck just talking about the same thing. Actually get into how do we solve this, right? How do we solve the blaming of the women in these situations? How do we get the rights changed? How do we stand together? How
Mm.
do we shift things? I know when I first started coaching, I was told by multiple coaches, like, you can't talk about that. That's one reason why I got my PhD, just for permission to talk about what happened to me, right?
Wow.
With any kind of authority. I mean, even though the files and everything were happening, it was kind of conspiracy theory at that time. So people weren't listening yet. And now people are listening. But as you listen, like, there are people that need to be here. It, being a victim, looking at that, saying, I don't want to be this, and talking about getting out. There are people that are here saying, this is how you cope with it, right? This is like this technique or this way of doing things is going to help you cope. But that's the lie. We don't have
Mm.
to cope forever. We know how to retrain the system if we stop treating ourselves like we are the system.
Mm.
Souls weren't damaged. Our etheric field was. Our
Yeah.
souls weren't damaged. Our emotional regularity was. Our souls weren't damaged. Our thoughts and our beliefs and our self concept was. Our souls weren't damaged. Our bodies were hurt. The good
Mm.
news is, miraculously, we can heal all that, right? So she survived for something significant, right? She's
Mm.
done the therapy, she's done the certification, she's stepping into her real wisdom. These women that we're talking to here on Women Thrive, and it's time for her to say, oh, it's so comfortable to be talking about the problem or what happened. It's so comfortable to be talking about how to cope with it. But what if there's a solution? What if it didn't have to take forever for us to heal? What if it didn't have to take our kids and kids and kids' generation to get through this?
Mm.
What if
Yeah.
we could do it now? Because we're strong women, we are the change. It wasn't our
Yeah.
parents, right? It wasn't our parents. So we work in identity, right? And it's shifting that identity,
I
not your
love it. I love it. And I heard today, I was watching all of these things unfold, and somebody said, we're not talking about victims here, we're talking about survivors. And that really stuck with me. Let's reframe that conversation. They're not victims, they're survivors. They survived something and they're still here. Nisha, we're going to be expanding this conversation at the Women Thrive Summit, where you're going to be speaking about this. What can people expect?
So, yeah, we're going to go more into identity, more into stepping into your truth and crafting, a purpose-based business or a purpose-based calling, right? I think that we all have little places here that we build our empires. We all have the power to build from authenticity, and it looks different. And when we've gone through trauma, parts of our brain shut down and don't let us dream into that. So I'm hoping to really help people dream into that, open up some questions to figure it out, share which space you're at, right? Are you rebuilding your life right now? Are you seeking that message, right? You have the coping skills and you're learning how to live and you're seeking that message, or are you ready to really be the architect of your own life and not circle these other two places so much, but go out and do it. Be bold, be brave, and say your truth and speak your truth. So I'm going to be helping you figure out which stage you're at. You can also go to yourownuniversity.com and take the quiz if you want to figure out like where you're at right now. And then we're going to be speaking into those archetypes to help you build your empire and be the change in the world that you want to be.
Yeah,
And you
amazing.
speak your truth for a reason, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm really looking forward to your session. I think it's going to be really powerful and transformational as well, because it's not just surface level healing. You got to do some meditation or whatever. This is really a much deeper identity shift that is going to be happening. And we do hear from our attendees that something significant has shifted for them during the summit. So come open-minded, with just willingness to be poured into and supported through whatever stage you're at the moment. So I want to invite our audience to head over to womenthrivesummit.com. This is our annual Women Thrive event that happens every March, and this year is happening 16th to the 20th of March. There are some free tickets. There's opportunities for you to upgrade if you wanted more access to some amazing digital gifts that our speakers have prepared for you. And Lisha will be there talking about how to go from survivor to sovereign, how soul psychology empowers women to build their empires. And I think this is truly going to be one of those transformational sessions that women will come out, no doubt, changed from the inside out. So I hope to see you there. Lisha, where do people find you ahead of the summit if they wanted to connect with you?
Awesome. So on the summit, I'm speaking on the 17th at 7. And we're really going to have a great time. But you can find me before that at lishaantica.com or yourownuniversity.com. One is my private business, and one is our school where we help people build their empires and write their books and share their truths and step into their true identity and thrive.
Amazing, powerful. And to all of our audience, thank you so much for watching this. If you feel called to, please make sure to share this live with your audience or share with somebody in private communities. And we really look forward to seeing you at the Women Thrive Summit. This is our annual event, so make sure you be there. Save the date in your diary and come and meet our speakers and truly have that transformational time with us. Thanks so much, Lisha. Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
Take care, everyone. We look forward to seeing you on another live.